All right, guys, we're back here on Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel. We're previewing Friday's matchup between Kentucky and Gonzaga in Nashville. This game, 6 p.m. Central Time tip on ESPN2. Max, currently over at FanDuel. The Zags are favored by 4.5 points. Over under set at 158.5. Two teams that would like to get back on the winning side of things. The Zags have had a nice little layoff here to get ready for this game. Meanwhile, Kentucky coming off the disappointing home loss to North Carolina. Something's got to give here in this heavyweight showdown.
What do you think of that line? We were talking about it before. Zags minus 4.5. It's a tricky spot here for both teams because you have the Zags coming off of 9 days rest after just what did Michigan do to everybody? Just destruction. So you have the Zags coming off 9 days rest after taking their lump against the Wolverines, and then you've got the Cats, who I don't know a single person out there right now that has trust and confidence in a full 40 minutes of clean basketball from the Cats. So it's really a tough spot. And Blake, the line lands at 4.5. Looking at some quick VSIN numbers, 65% of bets, 78% of the handle on the Zags. Looks like most people out there are off of this Cats ship already.
The strange thing is that you've got the number 5 team in KenPom coming into this game off a 40-point loss. You've got the number 15 team in KenPom coming in having lost every big game they played this season. And it's such a kind of weird setup from what probably we expected this to be heading into the season. As for, we're probably thinking, man, this could be a clash between, two top 3 teams or something like this. Just, that's what it felt like. But right now, both trying to kind of regain their way. But I think, the difference is, and look, you're a Kentucky fan, you're watching this, you've heard our comments on Kentucky this entire season. And I think there's a difference in that I think Kentucky is much more in panic mode than the Zags are. And I know they lost by 40, but remember, Michigan did that to everybody, pretty much. I mean, they just walloped everyone, it seems like that way. So I think that's where I'm curious to see another game where Kentucky comes up short. And I said, I think there's a difference when you lose games away from home versus at home. They lost the home game. This is going to feel like a home game for Kentucky. There will be a lot of blue in the stands. There will be some Zags fans there too, but this is going to be a de facto home game for Kentucky. So I just want to see how they respond because I think that's the thing. Each time we've seen Kentucky lose a big game this season, Louisville, Michigan State, they've responded, right? They beat Eastern Illinois by 46. They beat Loyola by 42. This isn't Eastern Illinois and Loyola. This is a different thing where you got to turn around quickly and play still a team that has lots of potential that can make the Final Four, no question about it. And so that's where we begin. We'll talk about personnel and all that, but you just want to see how Kentucky's going to respond after another disappointing outing.
They will be responding, Blake, shorthanded. Shocker.
Again.
So much discourse of $20 million roster. That ain't gonna be out there on the floor with no Mo Diabate, still out with a high ankle sprain. Mark Pope said earlier in the week that there's a chance he could return for Indiana. So Mo Diabate, ankle still bothering him. Obviously, still no Jalen Lowe or Jaden Quaintance. So that's a huge chunk of that $22 million will be in street clothes. Getting into the matchup a little bit here, Blake. I've got a few different aspects of the game circled. First one I want to get to that might not have too big of an impact on the game, but it is something interesting to note is free throws. Both of these teams have not gotten to the free throw line. Zags in free throw rate, offensive free throw rate, 316th in the nation. The Cats, 314th. They are right there together in terms of the rate that they are getting to the line. However, if you look at defensively, Kentucky in limiting opponent free throws, they're 27th in the nation, while the Zags are back at 208th. So both offenses have really not been able to manufacture free points at the line. However, the Zags have been putting opponents on the line a little bit more. Now, matchups play into this with who you've played. However, it is interesting to note that both of these offenses, as efficient as they were projected to be in the preseason, they have not been able to get to the line, and it's actually been the Cats defensively that has been a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, and I think, the defensive element is where I think a lot of people will turn for this game, right? Because, we said early in the season, we're talking about, hey, this looks like a team defensively that has it. Like they've got those things that you need to, really be an elite team. And well, I mean, yeah, you can look at like the points they've given up, right? They give up 96 at Louisville, 83 to Michigan State. Had some defensive lapses in that game that just made you scratch your head. North Carolina, it's 67-64. Not so bad, but, that again kind of falls on just the element of can you get enough stops, right? Like whenever it matters. And that was kind of just a grinded out type game for both teams. Didn't shoot it well for either one of them. And so, yeah, I want to see how they're going to match up with this Zags team that, like we said, yes, they played awful against Michigan. Give Michigan a lot of credit for that. Still a Zags team that put up 95, against Alabama, beat what may be the best team in the SEC right now. Got other good wins on the board this season. And yeah, I'm curious to see just from where that point distribution comes from for both teams, because we've said it. I mean, it's going to continue to be a talking point. It was a talking point for us in the summer. If Kentucky's going to win this game, they're going to have to shoot the ball well. And, so far, like we said, in 2 of their 3 big games, and even the one they did shoot it semi well, 12 of 34 against Louisville, that's more of in like a chasing type scenario. Maybe where the defense gets a little bit comfortable when they're up, a big margin, give you a few more open looks. You just did not see that against Michigan State, 7 of 30, 1 of 13 against North Carolina. We've said it, Mark Pope's magic number of 30. I don't know how many times Kentucky shooting 33s this year is going to be a great idea, just based on kind of the overall makeup of things right now. So, offensive rhythm for Kentucky, can they find it here? They could not find it the other night, that huge scoring drought. And really, I mean, other than just making kind of that furious rally, in the latter part of the Louisville game, they've not been able to find that offensive consistency or rhythm or chemistry or any other buzzword you want to use in these big moments against the best teams they played.
You said something there, Blake, that made me perk up. You said point distribution. Point distribution. Interesting setup here with the Zags offense against the Cats' interior defense. More importantly, Malachi Moreno. Okay, so when you're looking at point distribution, where the Zags are getting their points from, they're 8th in the nation in points from 2. Just killing it from inside the arc. 318th in points from 3. I'm not saying they're not capable. It's just they have been uber efficient inside the arc and 8th in the nation right now in points, percentage of team points from 2-point range. Well, the Cats' best attribute defensively is their 2-point percentage defense. 14th in the nation right now in 2-point percentage defense. And Malachi Moreno has had a big impact on that. 9 blocks, and he's started the last 3 games, inserted into the starting lineup. In the past 3 games, 9 blocks. He's got the highest block rate, more than double the next on the Cats. Malachi Moreno's rim protection and his ability to defend without fouling, probably for me, that might be the most important aspect of this game for the Cats.
I'm with you, and I was going to, give you my usual who's the X factor here. I think he's the X factor, but when you consider who's on the other side in this matchup, I mean, that's going to be just a crucial, I think, matchup to watch, is to see how he fares against, what you're seeing on the other side, and Braden Huff and Graham Ike and those guys. Like, I just think it's going to be huge to see how he's able to kind of, whether it is, rim protection, whether it's all that kind of stuff. And and that's a big spot for him. I mean, right? I mean, it's a big spot going up against this front court for the Zags. And so, it's a prove-it game for Kentucky. It's a prove-it game for him, even though he's obviously proven he is a mainstay in this rotation right now, as he should be. If I had to pick another player, I guess, if you're talking about who is kind of maybe the guy that really is going to have a big game here. I mean, I think Owe is the obvious option, but maybe I just keep going back to Cam Williams, because I know what he could add if he can just, if you get a couple shots, you knock down a few, get in a rhythm, And so far, it's like, he's had one game where he's made 2 threes, the others 1-1, 1-0-0-0. So I just think, and this is where like the Mark Pope element comes in, right? He's an offensive guy. Like, I think you've got to find ways, whether it's, hey, we're just missing shots or we're not in a rhythm, whatever it is, like you've got to find some ways, create ways, however it is, to make sure you're getting your guys in the best spot to get the open shots. And, you got to get some of these guys going. You got to get that rhythm somehow. And I wonder if it's, like we said, whether it's Oway, Aberdeen, you know, big game from Colin Chandler, Cam Williams, like you just got to get that confidence somewhere for this team right now because, it's also gotten to a point where like this can be like a mental thing, Max. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we find ourselves in another close game against a good team. So far, we've heard the stat, we're 0-3 in those games. You got to find ways to make those plays. And I think that starts with the coaching staff putting them in the position to have that opportunity. And I think they will have every chance to do that in this game, but it's easier said than done.
You mentioned EK and Huff. I'm going to be really interested to see what the game plan is for EK. Maybe if the first one doesn't go well. Last year, 35 minutes for EK, 28 points. He shoots 14 free throw attempts, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, no turnovers. Just carved him up.
Mm-hmm.
If you throw Moreno on him to start and say that doesn't work, okay, what's the next plan? Are we doubling? Are we trapping? Are we getting the ball out of EK's hands? Or are we saying, have your 28, no one else is scoring though? Yeah, what is going to be the game plan? You're going to have a few. They're definitely going to. But say Moreno in the first few minutes isn't holding his own. What's the next game plan? How are we going to attack defensively this front court of the Zags that was the difference? Well, obviously Kentucky ended up winning by 1 point in overtime, but EK was a monster in that game, and you'd best believe that he's going to be number 1 on the scouting report this whole week.
Keep an eye on Yelovich too. Shout out to the Vitches, as always. Someone else, I think, play a huge role for Kentucky in this game.
Yep.
They need it.
Ciao.
They need it. So, all right. Picks.
One aspect we didn't talk about, Blake. Rebounding. Cats allowed North Carolina to grab 20 offensive boards, almost 50% of their misses. That was a 22-5 second chance point advantage for the Tar Heels. North Carolina's offensive rebounding percentage is 38.1. The Zags, 37.9. Literally the same right there. And North Carolina's went up a lot after that game. So you could argue the Zags are even a better offensive rebounding team than North Carolina. In the Cats' 3 big games, they have allowed Louisville, Michigan State, and North Carolina to have an offensive rebounding percentage north of 30% in all 3 of those games. They have not been able to keep elite front courts off the boards. Malachi Moreno, you are mentioned 20 times in this preview for that exact reason. I'm going to go the Zags here to win. I think that is going to be the matchup that decides this entire game, Blake.
And something else, like in the North Carolina and Michigan State games, Kentucky struggled to get second chance opportunities in games where they could not make shots.
Yep.
And if that happens here and you don't get enough of those, because it's Michigan State, they had 6 offensive rebounds. Against North Carolina, they had 8 offensive rebounds. And like we said, remember, 1 of 13, 7 of 30 from 3-point range. If you're not getting extra opportunities and you're not capitalizing on making shots, I don't know if you can slow down the Zags enough to be able to find a way to simply outscore them. And I think with that, something else to keep in mind, the Zags had 20 offensive rebounds against Alabama. And to me, this is the ultimate prove-it game for Kentucky, but I said the same thing against North Carolina. And until I see it right now, and I think I would expect a lot of Kentucky fans will feel the same way. There are going to be some that say, hey, we got injuries, we'll be fine eventually, and I don't disagree with that statement. I think this team can be fine eventually once they get their entire roster available. Right now, they have 3 key rotation players that are not going to be on the court. And I don't know how, based on what I've seen so far, I would have the confidence to pick them in this game. So I'll also pick the Zags. So maybe the reverse KOD in effect. But you know what? Not even that's worked, Max. We did the same thing against Louisville, and this is all on the Cats right here. It's not on our picks, not on any of that. It's all on the Cats and Mark Pope, and they got to figure it out, man. And to be 0-4 after your first 4 big games would not be a good spot. But I'm going to pick the Zags too. I think that number is interesting at FanDuel, 4.5. I think there's some who thought that may be a little higher. I don't have a great feel one way or the other on which way I would play that, but it's going to be somewhat of a home game for Kentucky here.
The
big
gut
opportunity.
The gut says on that spread, Blake, it says it's one of those college basketball lines where you normally get scared real quick. Like, whoa. Everything I've seen so far with these eyeballs tell me the Zags should be bigger favorite than 4 points. They get all worried. I think this might just be, I don't know. I might be liking a little bit of Zags -4, Blake.
Don't forget, last year at this time, people were pissed about Kentucky going and losing at Clemson. And then what did they do? They turned around the next game and had a furious rally to beat the Zags in overtime. Maybe this is all they need, is to get the Zags on the schedule. I'm not sure about that. We'll find out. You guys let us know your predictions. Give us your score predictions in the comments. Kentucky, Zags, Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. There will be a lot of blue in the stands. But you guys don't have to feel blue about your holiday shopping this season because you can head over to the Yearly Company, Nashville-based fine jewelry. What do you know? Kentucky plays in Nashville. The Yearly Company's in Nashville. Sounds like pregame. You're going to buy some jewelry. Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built on tradition, designed for meaning, backed by a lifetime guarantee, solid 14-karat gold with natural gemstones. Every Yearly Company bangle, custom size. Knowing the size is the most important step before you place that order. So get 100% off at checkout. 100% off using our code SE16KIT to get the free sizing kit so you know that size before you make your order there. Head over there, SE16KIT, 100% off at checkout over at our friends at the Yearly Company. If you stop by while you're in Nashville, you tell them that Blake and Max sent you there to check out everything they got to offer at the Yearly Company. Also, ROKFORM, ROKFORM.com, the world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock, secure mounting, no rock lock picks for this game. Head over there, get 25% off using our code SEC25, SEC25, 25% off at ROKFORM. All right, appreciate you guys watching as always. Score predictions in the comments below. Hit subscribe, hit like, turn on your notifications. We'll talk to you soon here at Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.